Have you ever been in a test squeezing out your brain because you can't remember the information that you've studied last night? Well, we've all been there. In fact, the ability of human beings to remember past experiences and make future judgments is one of the defining elements of our dominance as species. Fortunately, there are many scientifically proven ways to improve your brain memory and make it easier for you to remember new information. That's why in this video I will show you how to double or even triple your brain memory using these tips. First off is to use imagination. The man who has no imagination has no wings. Imagination is one of the most powerful things our brains can do. And using your imagination to memorize knowledge is one of the most important skills you can learn in your life. In fact, research from the University of Arizona has found that participants were better able to remember a word if they were asked to think about how well it described them. When visualizing information, imagine yourself interacting with the object or place. Engage your senses to gather what it would feel, smell or taste like. Not everyone is born with an excellent memory, but anyone can use their imagination to train their brain to recall more information. Recent research by Martin Drieseler and Boris Conrad found that mnemonic brain training can be used by anyone to improve their memory, not just memory champions. All it takes is imagination and visualization. And to show you a real-life example, Ricardo Liu did a great job demonstrating this technique in his TED Talk. So let's watch it together and then continue.
So I'm going to ask you to find a comfortable position to sit, to close your eyes, and to take a deep breath. Now, I want you to think of someone you know called John. And I want you to see him. Now, John just grabbed the sun out of the sky and he just threw it on your feet. And now your feet are getting really big and red and swollen because John just threw the sun on your feet. Now, you look to your knees, and on your knees, you see 10 little guys playing basketball. Very strange sight. And on their shirts, you can see in brightly colored letters, the New York Knicks. So you have some Knicks on your knees. Next, you look to where your thighs are, but they're gone. Your thighs have been replaced with Fords, the cars. They could be Ford Focuses or Ford Mustangs. Your thighs have been replaced with Fords. Now, with your bottom, you feel a hard plastic seat of a go-kart vibrating. With your bottom, you feel the hard plastic seat of a go-kart. Your belly starts rumbling very loudly. So you follow your belly and it leads you to McDonald's. And there, Ronald McDonald starts shooting rays of light at you with a ray gun. Ronald McDonald is shooting rays of light at you with a ray gun. He hits you on your chest, and now from your chest, a big bush of gray hairs is growing. A huge bush of gray hairs growing from your chest. So obviously you hurry home to shave it off, and on your doormat, you see a letter. So you open it, and it has good news. As you read it, you feel a huge weight falling off your shoulders. A huge weight falling off your shoulders. Your shoulders get all light and tingly because you just paid all of your bills. Big bills, little bills, each and every bill has been paid for and you have plenty of money to spare. Now, you proceed to the bathroom because now on your neck, a bunch of tiny bushes of thin blonde hairs have appeared. On your neck, a bunch of tiny bushes of thin blonde hair. As you look in the mirror, suddenly your mouth just starts talking all by itself. And it's saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now you turn around, and now suddenly your eyes hurt. Because Donald Duck just poked out both of your eyes with a trumpet made of pure gold.
You may think that this is weird, but with this technique, Ricardo was able to make his audience memorize the 10 presidents of the United States in the right order. So here's the explanation of what you've imagined earlier.
Now, what happened to your feet? John threw the sun. Yeah, President Johnson. Now, what happened on your knees? Nix. Yes, President Nixon. Okay, so what were your thighs replaced with? Ford's, President Ford. Okay, and what did you feel with your bottom? Okay, President Carter, yes. Some people are ahead of the game. Now, your belly led you to McDonald's. What happened? Okay, Ronald McDonald shooting, raised, yeah, okay. So, Ronald Reagan. He hit you in your chest and you got what? Big bush of gray hairs, Bush Senior. Yes. Now, your shoulders got light. Why? Paid all your bills, Bill Clinton. Now, what did you have on your neck? Okay, yeah. A bush of thin blonde hairs, Bush Jr. What was your mouth saying? Yes, we can, President Obama. And what happened to your eyes? Yeah. Donald Duck, trumpet, pure gold, who else but Donald Trump?
The secret here is that our brains are good at relating things. In fact, that's how they work. If you try to memorize information that's related to something you already know, it will become easier to memorize than something you've seen for the first time. In addition to that, we tend to memorize funny things more than serious information. For instance, can you tell me who's this? If you don't know him, that's Nicolaus Copernicus. What about this? That's Mr. Bean. Even though these two people are very famous, we tend to remember the second person more because he's funny and made us laugh, while the other made us cry before every exam. That's why using bizarre funny images to memorize serious information is so effective in remembering things in order. Number 2. Brain training. You can boost your memory through brain training, self-testing and area-restricted searching. Scientists have long attempted to discover ways of improving cognitive functions like memory. A great leap forward on this front was made in 1984 when the New Zealand academic James R. Flynn discovered that, from the beginning of the 20th century, overall IQ scores had been rising by 3 points per decade. Flynn argued that his discovery proved that humans have adapted to an increasingly cognitively challenging world. Today, most scientists agree that the Flynn effect, as it has become known, suggests that the widespread adoption of new technologies, like radio and television and later the internet and smartphones over the last century, has made us evolve cognitively. The fact that cognitive ability is not simply determined by our genes is great news. It means you can boost your natural memory abilities, for instance, by using brain training. Now, it's true that in 2020 Lumosity, a popular online brain game service, faced a $2 million Federal Trade Commission lawsuit in the US for making unsubstantiated claims, so the reputation of brain training services has been tarnished recently. But not all brain training is a sham. Brain HQ, a program designed to boost your cognitive speed, has been proven to improve long-term memory and reasoning skills and even drastically reduce the risk of developing dementia. The program requires players to focus on a central target while identifying icons that pop up in the periphery of the screen. Another way to improve memory is by self-testing. Testing yourself when learning tends to result in better memory recall than simply reading information. For example, do you remember how much the Federal Trade Commission sued Lumosity for? If not, go back over the information in this video and then try testing yourself again. You can also improve your memory with something called area-restricted searching. It involves thinking of every item in a given category before moving on to another one. A 2013 study published in the journal Memory and Cognition found that when asked to list all of the animals they could think of, the intelligent participants of a tested group were capable of listing more animals than the less intelligent participants, only because they could think of more categories of animal. When researchers provided lists of categories to all participants in the group, both intelligent and less intelligent people performed equally well. So the next time you need to remember items on your grocery list, try to think of everything in a given category, such as fruit or dairy products, before moving on to the next area of the store. Number 3. Learn a new language. Since languages occupy different areas of the brain, bilingualism has significant cognitive benefits. In the 19th century, the French physician Pierre-Paul Broca and the German neurologist Karl Wernicke discovered the parts of the brain that control language production and language comprehension. Broca's area and Wernicke's area, as they are now known, are still understood as the general seats of language in the brain. But scientists have since discovered that the exact location of language is unique to every individual. In fact, we now know that different languages occupy different areas of the brain. The author once had a patient named Marina with a rare type of brain cancer located in the left frontotemporal region of her brain. Marina was a native Spanish speaker as well as an English teacher, which made it extremely important to identify which areas of her brain could be cut during surgery without damaging her language skills. After putting Marina to sleep so that her skull could be opened, the anesthesiologist weaned her off of sedatives. Then, using an electrical stimulator, the author tested areas of Marina's brain while she was asked questions in English and Spanish. Areas whose stimulation did not harm her linguistic abilities were marked with small pieces of white paper. Areas whose stimulation caused her to falter in either English or Spanish were marked to identify the language. Unfortunately, since the various routes to Marina's tumor were obstructed by English or Spanish language areas, Marina had to make a choice. Which language was she willing to lose? Today, Marina speaks only Spanish, but her doctor's ability to map the language areas of her brain allowed her to stay fully proficient in that language, even as her cancer was removed. Knowing that languages exist in different parts of the brain makes it easy to understand how bilingualism has a unique effect on our cognitive functions, including significant benefits. Having more than one language means that fewer brain cells go to waste, giving you more brain power and cognitive reserve overall. In fact, the benefits of bilingualism include improved attention and learning ability, and even protection against the onset of dementia. If you don't have a second language already, it's not too late to pick one up. And if you do want to learn a new language, I recommend investing in a class that you have to attend physically, since that's more likely to hold you accountable for doing the work required than an online class would be. This leads us to the next tip. Sleep. Not just a time of rest, sleep is necessary for redistributing memories. Sleep is one of the greatest mysteries of life. Like most animals, we humans spend a great part of our lives sleeping. But scientists still aren't entirely sure why we sleep after all. We could be eating, drinking, mating, or protecting ourselves from danger. What scientists do know is that sleep is a time when short-term memories in your hippocampus are transformed into long-term memories stored elsewhere in your cortex. In fact, studies have found that students preparing for a test recall more information if they get some sleep the night before, rather than studying all night. A night's rest can also make us better equipped to solve problems. But not all of your short-term memories become long-term memories. During sleep, the majority of your memories from the previous day are erased. Increasingly, scientists have come to understand that, although we see sleep as a time of rest, the brain actually uses this time actively to flush out what it doesn't need and restore itself. During REM, the deepest cycle of sleep, the eyeballs dart back and forth, and there is more brainwave activity than when we're awake. Given this, it should come as no surprise that even if we don't necessarily know why we require it, getting the right amount of sleep is essential for our health. In fact, studies have shown that sleeping too little or too much can increase your risk for heart disease and even your likelihood of dying early. So what's the right amount of sleep? Well, that depends on your age. For school children between 6 and 13, anywhere between 9 and 11 hours is recommended. But for adults ages 26 to 64, 7 to 9 hours is the ideal amount of shut-eye. If you struggle with insomnia, there are a number of habits that can help you get the amount of sleep you need without the use of prescription drugs such as Lunesta or Ambien. According to sleep experts, keeping your sleep cycle on a consistent schedule will help your body create an internal clock that helps it know when it's time to fall asleep. There are a lot of other techniques too. But these for another time. 5. Positive peer group. The quality of your life is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group. Peer groups can influence the life of an individual positively or negatively. Peer groups that have a positive impact on the individual are known as good peer groups. Bad peer group has a negative impact on the individual. For instance, here's what Jim Quick says about the importance of having the right positive peer group.
Right? And so who you spend time with is who you become because you're imitating their habits, their behaviors, their thought patterns, and everything. So that's why they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? If you're around 9 broke people, you're gonna be the 10th, right? Like you hear these things all the time, but it's not just your biological networks or your neurological networks, analyze your social networks, right? Because whether or not you smoke has less to do with your neurological networks and more to do whether or not your friends' friends smoke.
Here's what I'm encouraging you to do. Just ask yourself, do you have a positive peer group? If you become the average of your 5 closest friends, will you become happier and more successful or the opposite? So do you have a positive peer group? If not, do you have the courage to change them to change your life? Let me know in the comments below. Every human in the world has a brilliant memory, and you can grow your brain and expand its power. You simply need to spend some time determining what your memory improvement goal is and practice techniques that work for you daily. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please subscribe and click the like button. And see you next time.